Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined once again for DeBella's Digest by the man himself, Lou DeBella. And just out of shot, his faithful friend, Topolina.
Yes, she's here.
She's glued to the screen. Not quite. How's your week been, Lou?
It's been okay. It was an interesting weekend of boxing, I thought. I don't know what Avi Yildirim was doing as a mandatory contender, but you know what bothered me about it, actually? There's nothing wrong with an overmatched guy getting a fight. But not only was he overmatched, he did nothing, and he quit like a dog, or his corner quit for him, you know? Now, maybe I don't know, I wasn't in the corner. Maybe he was in worse shape than it appeared to me. I guess it didn't really matter because the end was inevitable. But I tell you, the spectacle of the show was pretty cool. Watching 12,000 people in a place again. The entrance with all the fireworks and the music, I thought was pretty impressive. And I love the heavyweight fight with Zhang and my guy, Jerry Forrest. Did you see that fight?
I did, yeah. It was very good. What did you make of it? What did you make of the way it ended as well?
I mean, it was one of the greatest comebacks I've ever seen in a heavyweight fight, honestly. I've never seen a heavyweight fight where someone went down in each of the first 3 rounds and badly went down a couple of times and then came back just to beat the you-know-what out of the other guy. And easily that could have been a win for Jerry. But, a draw, when you're 6 points down after 3 rounds, it's hard to argue with a draw in a 10-round fight. So I thought it was a sensational fight. I think Jerry saved his career with an incredible effort. He showed a lot of heart and grit. I hope Zhang's okay. I know he was in the hospital for a number of days. He's a real big, heavy-handed guy, Zhang, but not a lot of stamina, obviously, and very robotic. I think when Jerry got a rhythm and Zhang slowed down a little bit, it became one-sided in Forrest's direction. But I thought that fight really was sort of terrific and did a lot to bolster that card.
I guess the plus side of the ease with which Canelo was able to beat Yildirim is that there'll be no issues with him getting back out on May the 8th to fight Billy Joe Saunders in what is widely expected, or at least hoped, will be a much more competitive fight.
I think it could be much more competitive. I would guess it'll be much more competitive. It's interesting because if Saunders fights the fight that could win or upset the apple cart, it's probably not going to be the best fight on earth. No. If you don't have size and strength over Canelo, it's very hard to just outbox him. He's pretty. His all-around game is pretty strong. But Billy Joe, and I expect him to be right for the Canelo fight. When he's right, his style is just hard. So it certainly is going to I think provide more of a challenge than Callum Smith or this last guy I forget about, but I think it's going to provide more of a challenge than we've seen recently. I think Saunders' style, when Saunders is in good shape, probably gives anybody at 60 or 68 some difficulty. So I think it's an intriguing fight, even though I don't think it's not one that I'm waiting with bated breath for. It's not Chocolatito Estrada kind of thing, or a Fury Wild, Fury Joshua kind of thing. But I think it is a fight. Look, it's Canelo, and it's a legitimate guy. It's a legitimate challenge. So I got no problem with it.
And it's for 3 of the 4 major belts at 168. And then 2 weeks after that in Las Vegas, we've got a fight for all 4 major belts at 140 between Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez. And then possibly
go ahead. You got to like that. You got to like that fight. I mean, it's impossible not to like that fight. I've always thought that Josh Taylor is a little bit more polished and a little bit more of an all-around fighter. But, the odds in that fight should be relatively close, and I think they are. I don't know. I don't have off the top of my head, but I'm sure the betting odds are pretty close, and wouldn't be shocking to me if Ramirez won, but I probably slightly favor Taylor in the fight.
And then a few weeks after that, we might actually get to see Fury Joshua, which again is an undisputed fight. And I wanted to kind of ask you, we waited, I think, 12 years before Terence Crawford unified all 4 major belts at 140. And now they seem to be happening with more frequency. Why do you think that is?
Some of it is fortuitousness. You know, Ramirez and Josh Taylor are both top-ranked fighters, ESPN fighters. Rick Marigine, who manages Ramirez, has MTK ties. MTK works with Josh Taylor. It's an easy fight for them to make, and it's a good fight. I mean, it's the best fight, but it resides on that side of the street.
Sure.
The Joshua Fury fight's happening simply because it's the biggest fight you can make in boxing, and that's why it's a total unification, because you have 2 guys that are champions. It's a total unification because Fury had the success he's had recently. But you know, I don't think it's necessarily a trend. I hope it's a trend.
Yeah.
I hope it's a trend. But I also think fighters are much more. You know, there are so many championships. It's so easy to get a belt. I mean, the WBA regular champion means shit, right? And right now, everyone's so disgusted with all the champions that the IBO championship seems to be gaining some traction, which is even more championships. And in order to differentiate yourself in terms of legacy or greatness, fighters are chasing unifications, and they're putting more pressure on the promoter for unifications. Now, when unifications happen on when both fighters in a unification are on the, I hate the term, but it works, the same side of the street, it's easier to make the fight. When the fight transcends boxing and becomes a big business, like a Fury Joshua, it's more likely to happen. I still would be really surprised if Fury Joshua doesn't wait till there could be full crowds later in the year. I don't know. When we're this close to maybe normalcy, we're getting closer to normalcy. I don't know why they'd want to leave money on the table.
Well, if they do it in the Middle East, I suppose they could have a near capacity crowd now or soon, rather than wait for the UK to return to normalcy.
No, that's true. And I'm not going to complain. I'd like to see the fight, no matter where it is.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
I've
always said I would prefer to see it in front of a huge, crowd of Brits.
Yeah.
But if it's got to go, if it really can be made in a early summer kind of scenario, and it goes to somewhere in the Arab world, I'm not going to complain. I think it's a great fight for boxing.
Now, one thing I want to get your opinion on before I let you go, it's something that caused a bit of a debate on social media recently. What a surprise. 168 pounds, prime for prime. Canelo Alvarez, Andre Ward. Who wins and why?
That's a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a fight. I mean, I'm not picking against either guy. So, I mean, I'm literally going to say, how do you pick against Andre Ward? I think Andre Ward was brilliant. And Andre Ward ripped through. Do you remember when they had the
Super Six?
The tournament? Yeah. And which was really the precursor in some ways to the World Boxing Super Series.
Sure.
It wasn't just that Ward won the whole thing. It's sort of how he won the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like it was too easy.
It was.
I don't think he'd have that kind of easy time with Canelo Alvarez, but I think you're talking about 2 all-time greats. So I'm not going to pick against either guy. That's one I would just watch. You know what I mean? I don't have a sense of who would win. Anyone who thinks it would be a walkover one way or the other is wrong. Anyone who thinks that Ward wouldn't be in the fight is wrong. That's one of those great, like, sort of historical matchups.
Is Ward someone you'd like to see come back now? Obviously, he's very happy. He accomplished a lot. He seems fine in retirement. No,
I don't want to see him come back. No, I mean, he has nothing to prove. Honestly, he has nothing to prove. He's not going to be better than he was, before. He's becoming a really good commentator. I'm a big fan of his, but I don't want to see him come back. he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to economically. He doesn't need to in terms of legacy. So, I mean, he retired unbeaten. What's the sense of coming back? I think he should stay where he is and enjoy his new ESPN contract, continue to manage some fighters. I don't think he has anything to prove right now. And don't, you don't come back for a huge challenge when you know you're not going to be the best you've been. And if he came back now, he's not going to be the best he's been. Father time is father time, and inactivity is inactivity. So, no, I don't really want to see him. Sorry. Totally stealing my bottle of juice. I don't really want to see him come back.
Great stuff. Well, Lou, always a pleasure, and hopefully you have another good week. It'll be 3 in a row, 3 happy weeks for Lou DiBella in a row. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I know it's somewhat unusual, but it's a kind of
something's got to go wrong in the next few days.
I hope not. It's the kind of This is the kind of irregularity I like, a positive change of mood. But let's hope. It's a sunny day today. The snow's melting here. I got my first COVID shot.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel. I see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's a year almost that we started chatting. I mean, pretty close. But it's a year. It's literally a year since New York closed down, or the United States closed down. So it's one full year. So it just, it's nice to finally see a light at the end of the tunnel.
I agree. But we will continue with these shows regardless.
Absolutely. I'm not going anywhere. Good to talk to you, Dan.
Cheers, Lou. Take care.